Mireille was the kind of girl everyone admired and secretly envied. At the university, she seemed to have it all: beauty, money, confidence, and friends wherever she went. She dressed in luxury, drove an elegant car, and never appeared worried about a single thing. To many students, Mireille represented the perfect life they could only dream of. Yet, behind her bright, effortless smile, Mireille was a complete mystery. No one really knew where she came from. She never spoke about her family, never mentioned her past. Still, she spent money as if it were water paying for trips, expensive gifts, and extravagant nights out, as if it had no meaning to her at all. She shared a dorm room with two girls, Alice, who was calm and cautious, and Sophie, who was cheerful and impulsive. Despite studying in different departments, the three girls were practically inseparable, spending long nights laughing, gossiping, and sharing their deepest dreams. Mireille also had two other close friends in the history department, Rolande and Lena. Rolande was intelligent and discreet, always calculating her every move. Lena, on the other hand, was stunningly beautiful, but she was also deeply secretly jealous. Though she smiled and pretended to be happy for Mireille, she secretly coveted her friend's life and was willing to do almost anything to achieve it for herself. One evening, Mireille returned from a trip to her village, looking more excited than anyone had ever seen her. "You are not going to believe this," she said, her eyes sparkling as she gathered her friends around her. "My father is opening a brand new fuel station back home, and he's throwing a huge celebration to mark the occasion. I'm talking politicians, celebrities, influencers, everyone who is anyone will be there." The girls were amazed. This was the first time Mireille had ever spoken about her family, let alone in such grand terms. "But that's not even the best part," Mireille added, leaning in as if sharing a huge secret. "My father has promised to give a large amount of money to every single friend who comes with me. Enough money to completely change your life." A wave of excitement washed over the group, but Alice felt a prickle of unease. Something didn't feel right. Why was this happening now? Why such incredible, over-the-top generosity? When she cautiously suggested asking her parents for permission first, Mireille quickly and smoothly dismissed the idea. "The invitation is only for 3 people, she said calmly, her smile never wavering. "Everything is already planned and taken care of." Despite her deep-seated doubts, Alice decided to stay behind. Sophie, however, blinded by the promise of adventure and wealth, immediately agreed. Rolande, ever the calculator, saw it as a golden opportunity. And Lena, consumed by her envy, saw a chance to finally get a piece of the life she so desperately wanted. The next morning, Alice stood by the window and watched them leave. A deep, cold fear settled in her chest. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly, terribly wrong. The journey was long, much longer than they expected. Eventually, Mireille drove right past her supposed village and ventured deep into a dense, dark forest. The road became a narrow, winding dirt track. At last, they arrived at a massive mansion, hidden among towering, ancient trees. The place was completely isolated, unnervingly silent, and deeply unsettling. Mireille's father, a man who introduced himself as Chief Thomas, welcomed them with a warm, disarming smile. He was polite, charming, and incredibly convincing. The sheer luxury of the house began to ease their fears. The marble floors, expensive art, and plush furniture spoke of immense wealth. But then, he mentioned one peculiar rule. "There will be no phones during your stay here," before Sophie could finish a quick call she was making to Alice. Her phone was swiftly taken from her hand. Rolande and Lena were then forced to hand over their devices as well. The warmth they had felt moments before evaporated, replaced by a growing chill. That night, everything felt wrong. The air in the mansion was cold and heavy. The house itself seemed to be breathing, alive with an energy that made their skin crawl. Lena woke up in the middle of the night, shaking, absolutely certain she had heard faint whispers calling her name from the shadows of her room. The next morning, Mireille was gone. Just vanished. As the hours ticked by, no explanations came. There were no signs of preparation for the grand party they were promised. The servants moved like ghosts, their faces blank, avoiding all eye contact. Fear, raw and potent, began to grow in the pit of their stomachs. That night, the whispers returned, louder this time, more insistent. By the time the sun rose, another one of them was gone. Sophie had disappeared from her room without a trace. Desperate for answers, Lena cornered one of the young servants. The girl's eyes were wide with terror. She grabbed Lena's arm, her voice a frantic, barely audible whisper. "You should never have come here." Just then, Mireille reappeared. But she was no longer the friend they knew. Her eyes were empty, hollow voids. Her smile was gone, replaced by a vacant, chilling expression. She was no longer human. Panic erupted. Rolande and Lena ran for their lives, bursting out of the mansion and into the suffocating darkness of the forest. But the woods seemed to close in around them, the trees twisting into monstrous shapes. Chief Thomas and his guards were right behind them, their pursuit relentless. In a moment of pure selfish panic, Rolande betrayed Lena. She pushed her friend hard, sending her stumbling to the ground, trying to buy herself a few precious seconds to escape. Moments later, Chief Thomas caught up to Rolande. He killed her without mercy, without a second thought. Lena only survived because, by some miracle, the police arrived just in time. They had been guided by the very last GPS signal from Sophie's phone, the one she had tried to use to call Alice. At the police station, under the harsh fluorescent lights, Chief Thomas finally spoke. His voice was eerily calm. "Mireille is not my daughter," he said, a strange smile playing on his lips. "She is a spirit, a hunter. She feeds on desire, on greed, on envy, on ambition." He let out a chilling laugh, then suddenly ran. And died mysteriously in his cell that very same night. Sophie was never found. Lena survived, but the whispers never left her. They followed her for the rest of her days, a constant reminder of the darkness she had faced. Some traps, you see, are dressed in luxury. Some monsters wear the faces of our dreams. And sometimes, the people you trust the most were never human at all. Thank you for listening. Subscribe for more African horror stories. I'll see you next time.